30 days. 30 days from Election Day. Just 1 month for candidates up and down the ballot to make their case to the American people. They're on the campaign trail, and today we have new details about the road ahead for Vice President Harris. The VP is launching what the campaign is calling a media blitz this week, including interviews with 60 Minutes, The View, Howard Stern, Stephen Colbert, and a town hall with Univision. She'll also campaign in Nevada and Arizona. Yesterday, Harris traveled to North Carolina to meet with volunteers and first responders in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. And Donald Trump, he returned to Butler, Pennsylvania, the site of his first attempted assassination in July. What could have been a somber rally, it quickly turned into a venting session as the ex-president spread dangerous lies yet again.
Over the past 8 years, those who want to stop us from achieving this future have slandered me, impeached me, indicted me, tried to throw me off the ballot, and who knows, maybe even tried to kill me. But I've never stopped fighting for you, and I never will.
Joining us now is Olivia Troy. She served as Homeland Security and Counterterrorism Advisor to then Vice President Mike Pence.
So, Olivia, there's just so much about yesterday's rally in Butler, and Simone said it correctly. It could have been a very somber moment. First off, I'll just backtrack. I don't know why the hell they went back to Butler in the first place, but I do know why they go, because they wanted to take advantage of the political moment. So let's just be honest about why he was there. But then you have this with Elon Musk, who also joined him, where the two of them kind of set the mood. Let's just listen to this little mashup of the Elon Musk-Donald Trump confab.
We have to save our country, so you have to get out and vote. You got to get out and vote. You got to get your friends and vote, because, you know, they play a lot of tricks, this particular other side.
You must have free speech in order to have democracy. That's why it's the First Amendment. And the Second Amendment is there to ensure that we have the First Amendment. President Trump must win to preserve the Constitution.
So this from the man who actually told us, why don't we tear up the Constitution? So there's all this nonsense about preserving the Constitution. The Second Amendment is there for the First Amendment, all of this stuff. And then to package it around the lie that someone yet again is trying to steal the election. What the next 30 days, what has to be, I think, a core focus for, or you think should be a core focus for the Harris campaign going into this?
I think it's going to be critical to counter this disinformation that's ongoing. They're certainly doubling down on it in terms of the lead up to the election, and remind people that this is the exact same playbook that Donald Trump used in 2020. Right, this is what they're doing. And the lead up to it, they're trying to create doubt in the voters' minds. They're undermining the process. Now he's got an accomplice with it. Now he's got Elon Musk, who owns one of the largest social media platforms, that are being co-opted into being allies in this space. And so I think it's going to be important to remind voters that all of these charges against Donald Trump, it's called the rule of law. It's called accountability. That's what that is, right? That's how this is playing out. And look, there are numerous court cases. There are numerous people, even on his own staff along the way, who have said the 2020 election was secure, it was fair, he knew he lost it. Remind people of the fact that he's doing it again in the lead up to this one.
You know, it's early in the morning to hear this much Donald Trump, this much Elon Musk, and certainly this much J.D. Vance, Olivia, my friend. And yet, I feel it is important to take a listen to what they are saying at these rallies so that we all understand the message that they believe is their closing message in the last 30 days. So take a listen to J.D. Vance, and you and I will talk about it on the other side.
Kamala Harris said that he was attacking, quote, the foundations of our democracy. And I think you all will join me in saying to Kamala Harris, how dare you talk about threats to democracy? Donald Trump took a bullet for democracy. What the hell have you done?
Talk to me, one, about the jujitsuing of this democracy line of attack, how they're trying to say that they are not the threat to democracy, that if anything, they're actually protecting democracy, trying to somehow tie the assassination attempt to this protection of democracy. And also, I don't know if you saw it, and I don't know if it's a sanctioned campaign sign, but that sign in the background that says "Never Surrender" with Trump's mugshot on it, to me, it is all of a piece.
Yeah, certainly it's a manufactured production. And I think it's also dangerous because what they're doing is they're, again, trying to radicalize their voters, trying to set them up in the lead up to this election. And I'll say this, to remind voters that over hundreds of people, whether they were on Donald Trump's cabinet, whether they were former Republican officials in administrations, whether it was his own staff, have said that Donald Trump is unfit and he's dangerous, right? And that goes along with what we're seeing right now play out with J.D. Vance and Donald Trump. Now they're trying to flip the script. Now they're saying that, oh, we represent democracy. Okay, well, I think, the facts are the facts. Those of us who lived it firsthand in the Trump White House saw what Donald Trump is capable of. So are the people that surround him. And so I think it's important to sit here and watch this and prepare for what's at stake here. And I think it tells us what we're going to be up against in the aftermath of this election, regardless of how it goes.
I'm just disgusted by that soundbite because Donald Trump did not take a bullet for democracy. Like, democracy didn't require that he be shot. Right? Democracy did not require an assassination attempt. I think perhaps we have different definitions of democracy. It didn't have to happen, and I think we can all join in saying we are glad that the former president is okay and is here. Yeah. So, like, this bullet for democracy mess is, like, literally insane. I'm struck by 30 days. We've all been out on the campaign trail. 30 days is like, this is where it gets crunch time. This is where tempers get short. On the campaign trail. This is where
they get short real fast.
They get short very fast. This is where it's like, you know what? I do not want you sitting next to me on the plane anymore or on the bus. This is where candidates can make or break a campaign. This is going to come down to the very last second. And what the Harris campaign has laid out in this memo that we have this morning about what the strategy is, just this next week and a half, to me, says that the vice president is not going to leave anything on the field. She, at the end of the day, win or lose, is going to be able to say she did everything she could. I don't necessarily see the same thing from the Trump campaign, which makes me wonder what is the strategy to win this election? Kamala Harris's strategy is hit the targets, go everywhere, get on TV, make your case. Then we got bullet for democracy.
Yeah, I think the strategy for Trump is continue the fear-mongering and hope that the fear inspires a greater voting bloc. But I don't think that voting bloc is going to grow given his demeanor. I think with Kamala Harris, I think you're absolutely right. I have been so impressed at the fact that they are working hard for this every single day, right? She is out there on the campaign trail. And I think for her, she's connecting with the voters. And I think it plays to her benefit because I certainly, the first time I saw her in action, the first time I saw her in a panel with conservative women, I really just grew to have so much tremendous respect for her. The empathy that she shows, the connection that she has, and she's relatable, right? She's relating to everyday people. And I think that's what's so incredible about her. I think it's powerful for her. And I think the next 30 days, I think, I'm grateful that we're going to see more of her. I think that's going to be important. And I think that she states the case herself. I mean, these are people that are understanding of what Americans are facing. And I think that they represent that instead of this performative theater that we're seeing from Donald Trump repeatedly. It's more of the same.
I think to that point, and certainly to yours, Simone, about the whole protect democracy. Donald Trump took a bullet for democracy. Okay. And you're right. That is absolutely insane. But you did an ad for the Harris campaign, which really struck, I think, a broad nerve, at least what I saw on social media, what I saw from folks who texted and wrote to me about the ad. Let's take a look at your response, if you will, with your ad, Protect.
I served in Donald Trump's administration, but I know Kamala Harris is a leader we need to keep our country safe and strong. Throughout her career, she's gotten drug traffickers off the streets and protected vulnerable people from fraud. And as a Homeland Security expert, I trust her to protect the border. Kamala Harris's plan will strengthen our border security and crack down on drug smuggling and human trafficking. We need a president who's tough, who cares about the American people, and who puts the country first. That's Kamala Harris.
So this leveling up these two ideas, the laughable Donald Trump took a bullet for democracy versus a president who wants to put the country first. Because that really is where you drew. I remember after you referenced the meeting where you did the first program you ever did with Kamala Harris, you and I were texting back and forth, and you were she was blown away. I'm just to share a little bit of our text. You were blown away by that moment. So now it's come full circle with this ad, Protect. What's the messaging ultimately here for voters to take away?
Yeah, I think for me, and also some of the feedback I've got from the ad, was that I'm looking for a leader that's actually going to work to solve problems, someone that's actually going to take the problem, take it seriously, and actually work to resolve it. And that's why I felt strongly about doing the ad, because I worked the immigration portfolio all 4 years of the Trump administration, just to be clear. I worked every executive order, every immigration order that came out.
So you're one of the few who were there for the full 4 years.
I was all 4 years. Yeah. I was at DHS. I worked on the travel ban. I saw them the work on the border wall. I was in the policy discussions on this. And what I saw was that it was racially charged extremism instead of actually looking at the concrete immigration system and saying, how are we actually going to fix this for the greater good of the long term of the country? And I think that when I look at Donald Trump, that's more of what's to come in a Donald Trump presidency. And I think for Kamala Harris, she's looking at this and she's like, I have the experience. She does. You know, she was out there. She was prosecuting transnational organized crime in California. She prosecuted the Sinaloa cartel, which Stephen Miller in these meetings would tout like, we got to go after the cartels. Well, she did it. She did it. I have yet to see Donald Trump, tour a drug smuggling tunnel like Kamala did back in the day in California. You know, I mean, the reality is that I want a leader that's actually going to make a tangible difference. And I think when I'm hearing from people when they saw that ad, I even heard from former cabinet members of the Trump administration who said that was a powerful ad. We agree with that.